Today we'll be making this beautiful basic bralette that not only looks pretty, but gives amazing support. For this project, we will be using two different size hooks, a size H or 5mm and a size I, a 5.5mm. And I'm using a size 4 weight cotton blend yarn, and I start with a slip knot and chain 2. Our first row of the band is a row of foundation single crochet, so in the first chain, turn it to the side, and in those two side loops, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. Skip the first, well, we'll call it a chain, and then go into the second chain through those two side loops, and repeat what we did before. Yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. And repeat your foundation single crochet stitches until this row fits around your chest just under your bust, not too snug. The next row tightens it up a bit. And also make sure this row has an even number of stitches. Here is my row of foundation single crochet complete, and so now bring the beginning of the row around to your last stitch, being careful not to twist your row, and then join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Chain 1 and turn. You'll be able to stitch up that little gap between the first and last stitch with the tail later. And now skip your turning chain and the joining stitch and single crochet in the first stitch. And now single crochet around the post of the next stitch. This stitch we are creating is called the raspberry stitch, so I'll show you again a few more times. Single crochet in the next stitch, and then single crochet around the post of the next stitch. And repeat to the end of the row. And now we are getting close to the end of row 2, and so you will be ending with a single crochet around the post on the last stitch. So you'll see it is the same stitch as your join and chain 1 came out of. And now skip your joining stitch and turning chain and join to the first single crochet stitch. Chain 1 and turn. And row 3 is a repeat of row 2, so skip your turning chain and joining stitch and single crochet in the first stitch, and single crochet around the post of the next stitch, and repeat around the row. If you get a little lost and you feel like you need to check to make sure you're doing it right, what is happening is your regular single crochets are going into the top of the post single crochets, and your post single crochets are going into the regular single crochets of the row before. And this pretty stitch pattern looks the same on both sides. And now just repeat row 3 until your band reaches your desired width. After your last row, we will now add a pretty scalloped edge row. Chain 2, turn, and double crochet into the same stitch. Skip 2 stitches and slip stitch into the next stitch. Chain 2, double crochet into the same stitch, skip 2 stitches and slip stitch into the next stitch, and repeat to the end of the row. And when you reach the end of the row, just join to the base of the first stitch. And now we're starting on the first cup of the bralette, so go to your smaller hook, the size 5mm. Start with a slip knot and chain 11. Turn your chain over, and in the second chain from the hook, place a single crochet and single crochet to the end of the chain. You will then have 10 single crochets. After your last single crochet, place 2 more single crochets in that same chain stitch, so you'll have 3 single crochets in that last stitch. We are working our way around the end of the row, and now we will start placing single crochets along the other side of the starting chain. After your last stitch, turn without a turning chain and single crochet into the first stitch and in each stitch along this side. And when you reach the end, look for those 3 single crochets, and we will be placing 3 more single crochets into the center stitch of that 3 single crochet group. And continue your single crochets in each stitch along the other side. And repeat this process until your cup reaches the size you like. So to repeat, it's just a single crochet in each stitch along the sides and 3 single crochets in the center stitch of each 3 single crochet group. And when you finish your second cup, do not finish off your yarn, and line them up side by side as shown, leaving your working end of the yarn on the left side of the left cup. And grab your band, and we'll start near the joining stitch. And we will be joining the cups to the band with a slip stitch row. Oh, and I have now switched back to the larger hook, and we will be stitching into those little spaces at the ends of the rows. And now insert your cup just behind the top edge of the band. Here I'm just tightening up that loop a little bit. So now just insert your hook into the first stitch of the band, grab the loop and pull through. Now this may look a little complicated, but I'll go through it a few times. Insert your hook into the next stitch of the band, and then insert your hook into the first space on the cup. Grab the yarn that's behind the cup, you can't really see it there, but then pull it through the space and then pull it through the stitch. And now your first slip stitch is completed, and we'll just be repeating this all across the bottom of the cups. So I've inserted my hook into the stitch and into the next space, grab my yarn, pull through the space and pull through the stitch and the remaining loop on the hook. This may take a little practice. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else do this. I was just playing around and I really liked how it came out. And this extra row of slip stitches really gives a lot of support under the bust line. And when you reach the end of the first cup, grab the other one, and in the next stitch, begin with the beginning of the other cup. And when I reach the end of the second cup, looks like I slip stitched into one more stitch just beyond. And do not finish your yarn off at this point and switch back to the smaller hook. Oh, but first turn it to the back and decide where you'd like your straps to be attached, and grab 2 stitch markers and then place a marker at each point. So now next we will be slip stitching around the edges and creating our straps. So now here I am slip stitching into the edge of the first cup. And so my last slip stitch was into the first single crochet of that 3 single crochet group. And now we are going to foundation single crochet for as long as you'd like your strap to be. So I recommend making this row quite snug. You'll need to try it on and make this row as long as it takes to get to that first stitch marker. And you'll see that foundation row seems to turn to the left, so we want to turn it to the right. And then fold your strap down, making sure there's no twists in it. And we are going to attach our strap to the first stitch marker with a few slip stitches. So I first inserted my hook into the band edge and then pulled through a loop. And now I've inserted my hook into the strap and then pulled through a loop and then slip stitch into the next stitch onto the band and then slip stitch back onto the strap. And now just continue with our slip stitches along the other edge of the strap. And here I've reached the end of the strap, and I skipped the center stitch of the cup, and then I'm slip stitching into the next stitch and then on down the other edge of the cup. And then just keep going around the other cup and make another strap the same length as the first one. And you'll be attaching the end of this strap to the other stitch marker the same way as the first one. And here's my bralette all done. I just need to weave in the ends, and I wanted to show you another way you can attach your straps in the back. Instead of slip stitching the straps to the band, after you reach the end of your foundation row, you just turn and slip stitch back along the other edge of the strap. And then I tied the ends of the straps into the little spaces on the band. And these are so much fun. I've made a few already. I wanted to show you the different variations in band width, and the yellow one doesn't have the scalloped edge, so that's an option. And then if you end up having the free ends of the straps, you can attach how you want, or you can even tie it like a halter. In there I just wound some yarn around instead of a knot. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon with another fun project.